Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
In these documents, it shows there was a war taking place, a virtue signaling war. Which thing was higher on the liberal totem pole, wearing a mask or saving the planet? In a story of competing nonsensical ideas, let me show you how the feds chose their war on plastic over their apparent war on the coronavirus. The federal government actually created a strategic communications plan to discourage Canadians from using disposable masks, all in the name of fighting plastic pollution. Efficacy of those reusable masks be damned, if you care about that sort of thing, and I'm not sure that I do. We found the information in a larger access to information package that actually wasn't our access to information package, but it was released as part of a proactive disclosure, meaning someone else filed for that information, but eventually the information was released fully to the public. And when that happens, we do what other networks don't do, and that's go back and read these things to see what was either missed or ignored completely because it didn't fit some sort of narrative. In these documents, it shows there was a war taking place, a virtue signaling war. Which thing was higher on the liberal totem pole, wearing a mask or saving the planet? Now, this briefing note starts off by identifying the problem. Their briefing note starts off by actually acknowledging the problem. Personal protective equipment and its packaging are frequently single-use products containing or made entirely of plastic, and as you'll recall, the Liberals are entirely banning single-use plastics. Anyway, let's go on. Outside healthcare settings, Canadians are being asked to wear non-medical face coverings in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The quantity of plastic waste generated by single-use masks, with some ending up as litter, is increasing. Now, here is where they identify the moral dilemma for the Liberals in this briefing note, because they do acknowledge single-use plastics are indeed saving lives, and they also acknowledge that mask mandates across the country are increasing the problem with medical garbage. Here we go. The battle of the moral hierarchy. Health Canada, Environment and Climate Change Canada, and the Public Health Agency of Canada are receiving inquiries regarding plastic PPE waste, particularly given the government's commitment to reducing plastic waste and pollution and banning single-use plastics. So, what are these preening Liberals going to do? Well, they created an entire messaging plan, including a very detailed social media strategy and a plan to create blog posts and podcasts, as well as classroom information distributed directly to schools. And it looks like it was targeted towards little kids here based on the materials involved, like coloring sheets, all to encourage reusable masks. Look at this. A medium profile, proactive, and sustained approach is recommended. Communication activities will focus on encouraging the public to use reusable cloth masks instead of single-use to minimize environmental impact, and educating them about proper disposal of single-use PPE if and when they are used. Now, none of these proposed talking points in this briefing note here, and we'll post it for you to read for yourself, none of them ever lay out that reusable PPE, like cloth masks, are even effective. Instead, the government calls reusable masks cost-effective and environmentally friendly. Apparently, that's the most important thing to this government, that these masks are environmentally friendly and not particularly efficacious. Look at this. Recent studies suggest that cloth face masks need at least 2 to 3 layers of fabric in order to be protective, and the CDC recommends using 2 layers of quilting fabric or cotton sheets for homemade masks. Now, at the end of the day, whatever you believe about masks, do you wear a mask? Do you care about masks? Do you reject masks? It doesn't matter. The Liberals think, actually, they admit in these documents that disposable medical grade PPE made of plastic was the most effective. but they didn't want you at home to use it because for the Liberals, the war on plastic was more important than the war on COVID. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Doing these sorts of document-based investigations into the Liberal government takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, and we do require research help because there are just so many documents to go through. To support our access to information efforts, to offset the cost of filing, and then having research help to go through the documents, please donate today at rebelinvestigates.com.